Jake Morrison walked into the huge marble chamber with steady steps. His black shoes clicked on the smooth floor as hundreds of alien eyes watched him. The Galactic Council chamber was the size of a football stadium, with seats rising up in circles around the center floor. Today would decide humanity's future in the galaxy. Ambassador Morrison was 52 years old with silver hair and calm blue eyes. He had spent 20 years talking to aliens, learning their languages and customs. But today felt different. The air itself seemed heavy with tension. Supreme Chancellor Vextar sat on the highest throne. He was a reptilian creature with dark green scales and yellow eyes that never blinked. His long tail curled around the base of his seat. Next to him sat representatives from dozens of other alien species. The insect-like Zephyrians clicked their mandibles nervously. The crystal beings called Nexari glowed with soft blue light. The gas cloud Vorthans floated in their containment suits. Ambassador Morrison, Chancellor Vextar's voice boomed through the chamber. You know why we called this meeting. Humanity has expanded too far and too fast. Your species has claimed 17 worlds in the Outer Rim. This cannot continue. Morrison stood in the center of the floor, his hands clasped behind his back. He had prepared for this moment for months. The Council had been making threats for over a year. They said humans were dangerous. They said humanity took resources that belonged to older species. The Council has decided, Vextar continued, these are our terms. Humanity will abandon all 17 Outer Rim colonies immediately. You will surrender your terraforming technology to Council control. All human ships must stay within 50 light-years of your home planet Earth. You have one standard week to accept. The chamber fell silent. Morrison could hear his own heartbeat. Far above Earth's atmosphere, Captain Lisa Hayes waited aboard the UES Vengeance. The flagship carried 3,000 crew members and enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Through quantum communication, she listened to every word spoken in the council chamber. Captain Hayes was 38 years old with short brown hair and green eyes that missed nothing. She had fought in the Outer Rim conflicts and earned her command through skill and bravery. Her crew trusted her completely. They waited for her orders knowing that war might start today. Captain, her communications officer, Lieutenant Sam Brooks, whispered, the ambassador is about to respond. Morrison looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. Some looked angry. Others seemed afraid. A few appeared curious about what humanity would do. The humans had surprised everyone by requesting this meeting, instead of just fighting back against the Council's demands. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Morrison began. His voice was calm and clear. I have listened to your terms carefully. The United Earth Alliance has considered your demands. The aliens leaned forward in their seats. Some of the Zephyrians rubbed their front legs together, making soft scraping sounds. The Nexari crystals pulsed brighter. Even the Vorthans stopped their constant swirling motion. The United Earth Alliance respectfully declines these terms, Morrison said. We will not be responding to future communications on this matter. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Zephyrians chittered loudly in their insect language. The Nexari flashed angry red light. The Vorthans began spinning rapidly in their containment suits. Chancellor Vextar's yellow eyes widened in shock. What did you say? Vextar demanded. You refuse our generous offer? Do you choose war over peace? Morrison straightened his black suit jacket. He looked directly at the Supreme Chancellor without any fear in his eyes. I said we decline your terms. Good day. He turned and walked toward the chamber exit. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence that fell over the room. Every alien representative stared in disbelief. In 300 years of Galactic Council history, no species had ever simply walked away from negotiations. Ambassador Morrison, Vextar shouted, you cannot simply leave. We demand an answer. Will you fight us or surrender to our will? Morrison stopped at the chamber doors but did not turn around. You have our answer, Chancellor. We decline. The massive doors slid shut behind him with a soft hiss. The chamber remained silent for several long seconds. Then the chaos began again, louder than before. Aboard the UES Vengeance, Captain Hayes received the coded message she had been waiting for. The communication was just 3 words, but they would change everything. Silent protocol activated. Hayes turned to her crew. All stations implement silent protocol immediately. Communications, shut down all external transmissions. Navigation, prepare for dimensional jump. Engineering, activate stealth systems. Captain. Her first officer commander Bill Turner asked, "Are we going to fight?" Hayes smiled, but it was not a happy expression. "No, Commander. We're going to do something much more dangerous than fighting." The bridge crew worked quickly and efficiently. Within minutes, the Vengeance vanished from all sensors. It did not jump to faster-than-light travel. It did not cloak using traditional stealth technology. It simply disappeared as if it had never existed at all. Back on Earth, President Maria Santos received the same message in her office in Geneva. She was 45 years old with dark hair and intelligent brown eyes. She had been waiting for this moment since taking office 3 years ago. "General Murphy," she said to her military advisor, "execute silent protocol across all human territories." General Kate Murphy nodded. She was a tall woman with short blonde hair and steel-gray eyes. She had spent her entire career preparing for this day. "Yes, Madam President. All human assets will go dark within the hour. Across 17 worlds in hundreds of space stations, aboard thousands of ships, humans received the same message. Every man, woman, and child knew what it meant. They had been preparing for years. Communication arrays shut down. Beacon lights went dark. Trade ships stopped broadcasting their locations. Military vessels vanished from sensor grids. In the space of 1 hour, humanity simply stopped talking to the rest of the galaxy. The Galactic Council spent the next day trying to contact Earth. They sent messages on every frequency. They used emergency channels. They even tried ancient radio waves. Nothing worked. The humans had gone completely silent. Chancellor Vextar called an emergency session. "What does this mean?" he demanded. "Have they surrendered? Are they preparing for war?" Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the Council's expert on human behavior, stood to address the chamber. She was a small alien with purple skin and large black eyes. She had studied humans for 15 years and understood them better than most. "Honored Chancellor," she said carefully, "I believe we may have made a serious mistake. In human history, silence often comes before their most devastating actions. We should be very careful about what happens next." But the Council did not listen to her warnings. They thought humanity had given up. 3 weeks had passed since humanity went silent. Not a single human transmission had been detected anywhere in known space. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations picked up nothing but empty static where human communications used to be. Admiral Frank Cooper stood in the command center of Europa Deep, a hidden facility built inside Jupiter's moon. The station was completely invisible to outside sensors, protected by technology the Council had never seen. Cooper was 60 years old with gray hair and tired brown eyes. He had been preparing for this moment his entire career. "Status report," Cooper said to his staff. "All human assets remain dark, Admiral," reported Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster. She was 32 years old with red hair and sharp blue eyes. 17 colonies, 412 ships, 63 space stations. Complete communications blackout maintained. Any Council response? "They've stopped trying to contact us directly," Foster replied. "Intelligence suggests they believe we've surrendered." Chancellor Vextar made a public announcement yesterday, claiming victory through superior diplomacy. Cooper nodded slowly. The Council's arrogance was exactly what humanity had counted on. "What about our people on the colonies?" "All populations have successfully relocated to dimensional staging areas. The colonies appear abandoned, but all systems remain operational." Far across the galaxy, Chancellor Vextar sat in his private chambers feeling pleased with himself. The human problem had been solved without firing a single shot. He had shown the galaxy that the Galactic Council could handle any threat through careful diplomacy and superior wisdom. "The humans were not as dangerous as we thought," he told his aide, a young Nexari crystal being named Zixtal. "They simply needed to be shown their proper place in the galactic order." But Dr. Elena Rodriguez was not celebrating. In her laboratory aboard the Council research ship Infinite Wisdom, she studied human historical data with growing concern. The small purple-skinned alien had access to thousands of human documents and recordings. What she found there made her skin crawl. Rodriguez pulled up file after file of human conflicts. The pattern was always the same. When humans felt truly threatened, they did not attack immediately. They went quiet. They prepared. They studied their enemies. Then they struck with overwhelming force when their opponents least expected it. She found records of something humans called the calm before the storm. She discovered accounts of human military leaders who won battles by making their Enemies think they had already won. Most disturbing of all, she found evidence that human technology was far more advanced than they had ever revealed to the Council. Computer, compile all data on human defensive capabilities, she ordered. The computer's response shocked her. Warning, human technological assessment may be incomplete. Many human technologies have no equivalent in Council databases, unable to provide accurate analysis. Rodriguez felt cold fear creep up her spine. She had studied humans for 15 years. How could she have missed something so important? Meanwhile, Commander Rick Stone led a Korthax investigation team through the abandoned human colony of New Virginia. Stone was a veteran soldier with dark scales and sharp yellow eyes like all Korthax. He had fought in dozens of battles and feared nothing, but walking through the empty human settlement made him nervous. "This is wrong," he muttered to his second-in-command, Sergeant Torvex. "Look around. Everything is still here." The houses looked like people had just stepped out for a moment. Food sat on kitchen tables, still warm. Personal belongings lay scattered in bedrooms. Children's toys waited in playgrounds. But there were no humans anywhere. "Maybe they fled quickly when they heard our ships coming," Torvex suggested. Stone shook his head. "No, look at the power systems. Look at the water treatment plants. Look at the automated factories. Everything is still running. If they fled, why leave everything operational?" The investigation team searched every building, every vehicle, every inch of the colony. They found no bodies, no signs of struggle, no indication of where 300,000 humans had gone. It was as if an entire population had simply vanished into thin air. "Commander," one of his soldiers called over the radio, "you need to see this." Stone hurried to the colony's main communication center. Inside, banks of computers hummed quietly, processing data and maintaining systems. Everything looked normal except for one thing. The computers were still receiving and recording messages, but they were not sending any responses. "They're listening," Stone realized with growing alarm. "The humans are still here somehow. They can hear everything we're saying, but we can't find them." Similar reports came in from every human settlement the Council investigated. Colony after colony showed the same impossible situation. Everything intact, everyone gone, all systems still running. Dr. Rodriguez finally gained an audience with the full Council after submitting her urgent report. She stood before the assembled alien representatives, her small purple form dwarfed by the massive chamber. "Honored Council members," she began, "I believe we have seriously underestimated humanity's capabilities." Chancellor Vextar waved dismissively. "Dr. Rodriguez, the humans have clearly surrendered. They have abandoned their colonies and ceased all communications. What more evidence do you need?" "With respect, Chancellor, they have not abandoned anything. Every human facility remains fully operational. Their populations have not fled. They have simply disappeared. This suggests technology far beyond our current understanding." The Nexari representative, a tall crystal being named Luxandra, pulsed with curious light. "What are you suggesting, Doctor?" Rodriguez activated a holographic display showing human historical data. Throughout their history, humans have demonstrated a pattern. When faced with superior enemies, they do not surrender or attack directly. They disappear, adapt, and return stronger. I believe that is exactly what they are doing now." "Impossible," scoffed the Zephyrian delegate, his insect wings buzzing with irritation. "We have technology thousands of years more advanced than theirs. They cannot simply disappear from existence." "Then explain the colonies," Rodriguez challenged. "Explain how 300,000 people can vanish without a trace while leaving their breakfast still warm on the table." The council chamber fell silent. No one had a good answer. Chancellor Vextar finally spoke. "Very well, Doctor. The Council authorizes a full investigation of human space. We will send fleets to every human world, including their home system. If they are hiding somewhere, we will find them." 2 weeks later, the Council's most advanced exploration fleet arrived at the Sol system, home to planet Earth. Fleet Admiral Kex Thun commanded 12 of the Council's most powerful ships, equipped with sensors that could detect a single molecule of gas from a light year away. But when they reached the coordinates where Earth's sun should have been, they found nothing. "Admiral," his sensor operator reported in a shaking voice, "Sol is gone." "Gone? What do you mean gone?" "The entire star system, sir. 8 planets, hundreds of moons, billions of asteroids, 1 G-type star. None of it is here. Space telescopes confirm the system should be at these exact coordinates, but we're detecting only empty vacuum." Admiral Kexathun stared at the empty space where humanity's home should have been. A cold chill ran through his reptilian body. Contact the Council immediately. Tell them we have a problem. A very serious problem. Back in the Council chambers, Chancellor Vexitar received the report with growing dread. An entire star system could not simply disappear. It was physically impossible. But the evidence was undeniable. Dr. Rodriguez watched the proceedings with grim satisfaction. She had been right about humanity's capabilities. The question now was not where the humans had gone, but what they were planning to do next. Chancellor, she said quietly, I recommend we prepare for the possibility that humanity's silence is not surrender. It may be the most dangerous thing they have ever done. 6 months after humanity disappeared, the galactic economy began to collapse. What started as minor supply shortages had grown into a full crisis that threatened every civilized world. The Nexari crystal farms that supplied computing power to half the galaxy suddenly stopped producing quality crystals. Without human-designed atmospheric processors, the delicate environmental balance needed for crystal growth had fallen apart. Billions of devices across thousands of worlds began failing. On the agricultural world of Zephyr Prime, massive crop failures threatened to starve 60 million insect-like beings. The Zephyrians had relied on human farming techniques for decades. Without those methods, their food production dropped by 70%. President Maria Santos studied the intelligence reports from her command ship, the UES Liberty. The vessel moved constantly through folded space, never staying in one location long enough to be detected. Santos was 45 years old with dark hair and intelligent, brown eyes that now showed the strain of leading humanity through its greatest challenge. The Council is finally starting to understand, she said to Admiral Cooper during their secure communication. They thought they could just remove us from the galaxy like cutting out a small piece. They never realized how connected everything had become. Admiral Cooper's image flickered on the holographic display from Europa Deep. Economic collapse was always part of the plan, Madam President, but intelligence suggests they're preparing for more aggressive action. They're building fleets. Intelligence Director Paul Webb joined the conversation from his hidden facility in the asteroid belt. Webb was a thin man with sharp features and eyes that seemed to see everything. Council communications are becoming desperate. They've tried every method they know to contact us. Radio, quantum, even primitive light signals. We receive everything, but they know we're not responding. Santos nodded. The silent protocol required absolute communication discipline. Not a single human had broken silence in 6 months. It was perhaps the most difficult thing humanity had ever attempted, but it was working exactly as planned. Dr. Elena Rodriguez finally convinced the full council to listen to her detailed analysis. The small purple-skinned scientist had spent months studying every aspect of human behavior and technology. What she had discovered terrified her. Honored council members, she began, standing before the assembled representatives. Our situation is far worse than anyone has admitted. We are not dealing with a defeated enemy. We are dealing with a species that has been carefully hiding their true capabilities for decades. Chancellor Vextar's yellow eyes narrowed. Explain. Rodriguez activated a massive holographic display showing technical schematics. I have analyzed fragments of human technology left behind in their colonies. What we always believed was simple terraforming equipment actually shows evidence of space-time manipulation on a massive scale. The Nexari representative Luxandra pulsed with confused light patterns. That is impossible. Space-time manipulation requires technology thousands of years beyond current human development. I thought so too, Rodriguez replied. But the evidence is undeniable. Look at these energy signatures from their atmospheric processors. Look at the quantum field distortions around their communication arrays. The humans were not just good at terraforming. They had mastered dimensional engineering. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If humans could manipulate space-time, they could do things the Council had never imagined possible. Furthermore, Rodriguez continued, I believe every human colony, ship, and facility was equipped with dimensional displacement technology disguised as routine infrastructure. When they activated their silent protocol, they did not hide or flee. They moved their entire civilization into parallel dimensional space. Chancellor Vextar stood up from his throne, his reptilian tail lashing with agitation. You are suggesting that humanity has the power to exist outside normal reality? Not suggesting, Chancellor. Stating as fact. The evidence is overwhelming. The Zephyrian delegate buzzed his wings nervously. If this is true, then they could be watching us right now from their dimensional space. They could know everything we are planning. Dr. Rodriguez nodded grimly. That is exactly what I believe is happening. Meanwhile, General Kate Murphy prepared for humanity's next move from the Dimensional Command Center hidden in folded space. The facility existed between normal dimensions, invisible and unreachable by conventional technology. Murphy was a tall woman with short blonde hair and steel-gray eyes that reflected years of careful planning. Status report on galactic conditions, she requested from her staff. Colonel Andrew Clark, humanity's top strategic analyst, provided the update. Economic disruption is proceeding as predicted. Food shortages on 12 major worlds, technology failures affecting billions of beings. The Council's approval ratings have dropped 60% in the past month. Any signs they're ready to listen to reason? Not yet, General. Intelligence indicates they're still trying to locate us through conventional means. They're building a massive fleet for what they're calling Operation Human Hunt. Murphy smiled coldly. The Council still did not understand what they were dealing with. Very well. I think it's time to break our silence. Prepare for galaxy-wide transmission. The message was simple but carefully crafted. General Murphy's image would appear simultaneously on every communication device in known space. Every television, every computer, every personal communicator would receive the signal whether it was turned on or not. At exactly noon, Galactic Standard Time, every screen in the galaxy activated. Murphy's face appeared calm and composed, wearing the simple gray uniform of the Earth Alliance. Citizens of the galaxy, she began. For 6 months, the Galactic Council has attempted to contact humanity. You have interpreted our silence as surrender. This interpretation is incorrect. On thousands of worlds, billions of beings stopped what they were doing to listen. The message was being transmitted in every known language simultaneously. The Galactic Council demanded that humanity abandon our colonies, surrender our technology, and accept containment within a small area of space. We rejected these demands not because we feared the consequences, but because the Council fundamentally misunderstood what humanity represents. Murphy paused, letting her words sink in across the galaxy. You believed we sought territory, resources, or political dominance. You were wrong. We sought something far more valuable and far more dangerous. We sought the freedom to evolve beyond the limitations others would place on us. The transmission showed brief glimpses of humanity's new reality. Cities that existed in folded space-time, where buildings stretched across multiple dimensions, ships that traveled through dimensional rifts instead of conventional space, colonies that existed simultaneously in several realities, drawing resources from multiple universes. During our months of silence, we have relocated our entire civilization to dimensional space parallel to your reality. From this position, we can observe and interact with your universe at will, but we remain completely beyond your reach or influence. Chancellor Vextar watched the transmission from the council chambers, his scales pale with shock. Around him, representatives from dozens of species stared in stunned silence at the casual display of impossible technology. We did not reject your ultimatum because we feared war, Murphy continued. We rejected it because war would have been too easy. Any species can destroy their enemies. It takes true strength to transcend the need for conflict entirely. The transmission began to fade, but Murphy's final words echoed in every listener's mind. The Galactic Council will continue to govern conventional space as you always have. Humanity will remain in dimensional space, interacting with your reality only when it serves our purposes. Any attempt to locate or attack human assets will result in complete severance of all contact and aid. However, she added, we offer one opportunity. Any species that demonstrates genuine commitment to peaceful development and scientific advancement may petition for limited sharing of dimensional technology. The choice is yours. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Dr. Rodriguez sat in her laboratory, no longer afraid but filled with grudging admiration. Humanity had not defeated the Council through superior firepower or political maneuvering. They had simply evolved beyond the reach of conventional power structures. Chancellor Vextar called an emergency council session, but for the first time in his career, he had no idea what to say. How do you negotiate with beings who have transcended your entire understanding of reality? Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked day and night in her laboratory, trying to understand the fragments of human technology her research teams had recovered. The small, purple-skinned scientist had not slept properly in weeks. Every analysis revealed new impossibilities that challenged everything the Galactic Council believed about physics and reality. Computer, analyze the energy patterns from the human atmospheric processor again, she commanded. The display showed swirling patterns of energy that defied explanation. Analysis complete. The device appears to create localized space-time distortions while maintaining perfect environmental stability. The technology required would exceed Council capabilities by approximately 3,000 years. Rodriguez felt sick. 3,000 years. Humanity had been hiding technology that advanced while pretending to be a primitive species, barely capable of space travel. How had the Council been so blind? She pulled up another file, this one containing fragments of what humans had called simple communication equipment. The WarHFY quantum signatures suggested it was actually a dimensional gateway disguised as a radio transmitter. They were never really in our dimension, she whispered to herself. Even during the negotiations, they were probably speaking to us from dimensional space. The implications were staggering. If humans could create dimensional gateways that small and that well hidden, they could have placed observation posts anywhere in the galaxy. They could have been watching the Council's most secret meetings for decades. General Kate Murphy stood in the Dimensional Command Center, reviewing the galaxy's response to their transmission. The facility existed in a space between realities, where the normal laws of physics bent to humanity's will. Murphy was 42, years old with short blonde hair and eyes that had seen the future humanity was building. Status. Report, she requested from Colonel Andrew. Clark was 35 years old with brown hair and the calm demeanor of someone who had helped plan humanity's greatest achievement. The galaxy is in chaos, General. Half the Council members are demanding immediate military action. The other half want to negotiate. Chancellor Vextar has called 17 emergency sessions in the past week. Any species requesting partnership agreements? 3 so far. The Altarians, the Centauri Collective, and surprisingly a faction of younger Nexari who broke away from the main Crystal Council. They all submitted formal requests for dimensional technology sharing. Murphy nodded. The partnership program was crucial to humanity's long-term plans. They could not remain isolated forever, and working with truly peaceful species would help prevent the galaxy from falling into complete chaos. What about military preparations? The Council is building what they call the Ultimate Fleet. 2,000 ships from 12 different species, all equipped with their most advanced weapons and sensors. They plan to systematically search every cubic meter of space until they find us. Murphy smiled grimly. Let them search. They could spend 1,000 years looking in conventional space and never find us. Meanwhile, Chancellor Vexitar paced in his private chambers, his reptilian claws clicking on the marble floor. The Supreme Chancellor had ruled the Galactic Council for 40 years, but he had never faced a challenge like this. How do you fight an enemy who exists outside reality itself? His aide, the young Nexari crystal being Zixtal, pulsed with nervous light patterns. Chancellor, the military commanders are requesting permission to begin the search operation. And what exactly will they search for? Vextar snapped. Empty space, shadows? The humans could be right here in this room, watching us from their dimensional realm, and we would never know. Dr. Rodriguez believes she may have found a way to detect dimensional disturbances, Zixtal offered hopefully. Vextar's yellow eyes brightened slightly. Bring her here immediately. Dr. Rodriguez arrived within the hour, carrying a portable analyzer covered in blinking lights and quantum field sensors. She looked exhausted but determined. Chancellor, I have been studying human technology fragments for months. I believe I have finally understood how their dimensional displacement works. She activated her device and holographic displays filled the chamber. Human dimensional technology does not actually move objects to another universe. Instead, it creates a quantum phase shift that makes matter exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Vextar stared at the incomprehensible diagrams. Explain it in terms I can understand. Imagine a coin spinning in the air, Rodriguez said. While it spins, it is both heads and tails at the same time. Human technology keeps their entire civilization in that spinning state, existing in our dimension and parallel dimensions simultaneously. They can choose which state to manifest at any given moment. Can we force them back into our dimensional state? Rodriguez hesitated. Theoretically, yes. But the energy required would be enormous. We would need to build quantum disruptors on a galactic scale, and even then, there is no guarantee we could force them to materialize where we want them to. Before Vextar could respond, the air in his chamber began to shimmer. A section of space near his throne distorted like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then, impossibly, a human figure materialized from nothing. Colonel Andrew Clark stood calmly in the center of the chamber, wearing the simple gray uniform of the Earth Alliance. He was unarmed and showed no fear, despite being surrounded by guards who immediately pointed their weapons at him. "Supreme Chancellor," Clark said with a polite nod, "I am Colonel Andrew Clark, humanity's new ambassador to the Galactic Council. I am here to deliver our terms." Vextar's guards hesitated, unsure whether to shoot. The human had appeared from thin air without triggering any security systems. For all they knew, he might not even be completely real. "Your terms?" Vextar managed to say. "You are the ones who disappeared. You are the ones who must accept our conditions." Clark smiled politely. "I think there has been a misunderstanding, Chancellor. We did not disappear because we were weak. We disappeared because we were too strong for your reality to contain." He gestured, and the air around him filled with holographic displays showing humanity's true capabilities. Cities that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. Ships that could travel instantly between any 2 points in space by folding reality. Weapons that could destroy matter by removing it from existence entirely. For 50 years, humanity has been developing beyond your understanding while pretending to be a simple spacefaring species. We allowed you to believe we were primitive because it served our purposes. It gave us time to complete our evolution. Dr. Rodriguez stared at the displays with a mixture of terror and fascination. The technology shown was so advanced that it seemed like magic. "Why reveal yourselves now?" she asked. Clark turned to her with respect. "Because you, Dr. Rodriguez, came closer to understanding our true nature than anyone else. We decided it was time to be honest about what we have become." "What do you want from us?" Vextar demanded. "Nothing," Clark replied simply. "We want nothing from you because we no longer need anything you can provide. We exist beyond scarcity, beyond territorial disputes, beyond the petty conflicts that drive galactic politics." "Then why are you here?" Clark's expression became more serious. "Because we are not cruel. The economic disruption caused by our departure is harming billions of innocent beings. We offer a solution," he gestured again, and new displays appeared showing plans for joint research facilities and carefully controlled technology transfers. The Galactic Council will continue to govern conventional space exactly as before. Humanity will remain in dimensional space, invisible and unreachable. However, we will selectively share our knowledge with species that demonstrate genuine commitment to peaceful development and scientific advancement. "And if we refuse?" Vextar asked. Clark shrugged. "Then you refuse. We will simply continue to exist beyond your reach, while the galaxy struggles with the problems our absence has created. The choice is entirely yours." The chamber fell silent except for the humming of Dr. Rodriguez's analyzer. Finally, Vexistar spoke. "What proof do we have that you will keep your word?" Clark smiled and began to fade, becoming translucent like a ghost. "Chancellor, we could have destroyed the entire council fleet with a thought. We could have conquered the galaxy without firing a shot. Instead, we chose to evolve beyond the need for conquest. What more proof of our intentions do you require?" He disappeared completely, leaving only the faint smell of ozone and the knowledge that humanity had transcended everything the galaxy thought possible. 6 months after Colonel Clark's visit to the council chambers, the galaxy had begun to adapt to its new reality. The emergency sessions had ended. The massive military buildup had been quietly abandoned. Instead of preparing for war, the Galactic Council now faced the unprecedented challenge of learning to cooperate with beings who existed beyond their understanding. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in her new laboratory, aboard the Joint Research Station Harmony 1. The facility existed partially in normal space and partially in dimensional space, a compromise that allowed both humans and aliens to work together safely. Rodriguez was no longer just a xenobiologist studying humanity from a distance. She was now the Council's Director of Interdimensional Sciences. "Dr. Foster," she called to her human partner, "the quantum field generators are showing unusual readings." Dr. Amy Foster materialized from dimensional space with the casual ease that still amazed Rodriguez after months of working together. Foster was 32 years old with red hair and blue eyes that sparkled with intelligence and humor. The readings are normal for dimensional interface technology, Foster explained patiently. Remember, we're dealing with physics that exist between realities. The measurements will always seem unusual compared to conventional science. Rodriguez nodded, still struggling to understand concepts that humanity had mastered decades ago. The learning curve was steep, but the benefits were incredible. Their first joint project had saved the dying Nexari homeworld by partially shifting it into dimensional space, protecting the crystalline ecosystem from deadly solar radiation. Admiral Lisa Hayes, now commanding the interdimensional academy ship UES Discovery, reviewed the applications for the next class of students. The academy accepted only 12 students per year from the thousands who applied. Each candidate underwent rigorous testing to ensure they possessed both the intellectual capacity and the moral character necessary for dimensional technology. Hayes was 41 years old now, with silver streaks in her brown hair and lines around her green eyes that spoke of years spent navigating between realities. She had become humanity's primary liaison with friendly alien species. Status report on the new candidates, she requested from Lieutenant Commander Bill Turner, her former first officer who now served as the Academy's admissions director. Promising group this year, Turner replied, reviewing the holographic files. 3 Altarians, 2 from the Centauri Collective, 4 Nexari from the Reformed Crystal Council, 1 Zephyrian, and 2 Vorthans who managed to adapt their gas-form physiology to dimensional interface technology. What about security clearances? All candidates passed psychological evaluation and demonstrated commitment to peaceful exploration. The Zephyrian candidate is particularly interesting. She's developed mathematical proofs that even our human scientists find impressive. Hayes smiled. The Academy had become a symbol of what cooperation could achieve when species worked together as equals, rather than trying to dominate each other. Meanwhile, Chancellor Vextar prepared for what would likely be his final address to the Galactic Council. The old reptilian leader had decided to retire after 45 years of service. The galaxy had changed too much for traditional leadership methods to remain effective. Fellow council members, he began, his voice carrying the weight of hard-earned wisdom. When I first became Supreme Chancellor, I believed that strength meant the ability to impose your will on others. I believed that advanced species had the right to control primitive ones. The chamber was unusually quiet. Vextar's words carried special significance because everyone knew about his long opposition to human expansion. I was wrong, he continued. Humanity taught us that true strength lies not in controlling others, but in transcending the need for control entirely. They could have destroyed us easily. Instead, they chose to evolve beyond the framework of conflict altogether. He paused, looking around at the assembled representatives from dozens of species. We tried to contain humanity within our understanding of politics and power. We failed because they had already grown beyond those limitations. They did not defeat us in war because they had evolved past the need for war. On the Nexari homeworld of Crystal Prime, the first interdimensional research colony was taking shape. The facility existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously, allowing researchers to study phenomena that were impossible in normal space. Scientists from 12 different species worked side by side with human advisors, pushing the boundaries of knowledge in ways that none of them could have achieved alone. President Maria Santos, now in her second term, visited the colony through dimensional gateway technology. At 48, she had gray streaks in her dark hair, but her brown eyes remained sharp and determined. She had guided humanity through its greatest transition, and now oversaw the careful integration with friendly species. Status report on colony development, she requested from the facility director, a reformed Nexari named Lux Vera, who had broken away from the old Crystal Council to pursue interdimensional research. Remarkable progress. Madam President, Lux Vera replied, her crystalline form pulsing with excited light patterns. We have successfully created stable dimensional pockets for 17 different research projects. The Joint Physics team believes they are close to understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself. Santos nodded with satisfaction. This was what humanity had really been seeking all along. Not territory or resources, but the freedom to explore and grow without artificial limitations. Back on the Academy ship Discovery, the first graduating class prepared for their final ceremony. 12 students from 8 different species had spent 2 years learning to work with dimensional technology. They would return to their homeworlds as ambassadors of a new way of thinking about science and cooperation. Admiral Hayes addressed the graduates in the Academy's main hall, a room that existed simultaneously in 4 dimensions and offered views of impossible stellar phenomena. "You are not just learning new technology," she told them. "You are becoming pioneers of a new relationship between species. You represent the possibility that intelligent beings can work together as equals, sharing knowledge and resources for the benefit of all." One of the graduates, a young Zephyrian named Klikta, raised her insect-like arm. "Admiral, will humanity ever return to normal space permanently?" Hayes considered the question carefully. "Humanity's future lies in dimensional space, but we will always maintain connections with conventional reality. We are not abandoning the galaxy. We are simply existing alongside it in a new way." Dr. Rodriguez, now recognized as the galaxy's leading expert on interdimensional physics, published her final report on humanity's transformation. The document would be studied for centuries as a guide to understanding how a species could evolve beyond traditional limitations. "Humanity's greatest achievement," she wrote, "was not their technology or their military capability. It was their refusal to be limited by others' expectations of what was possible. When faced with demands to accept artificial boundaries, they chose instead to transcend those boundaries entirely." The report concluded with observations that would reshape galactic thinking about intelligence and development. "We assumed that advanced technology inevitably led to conquest and domination. Humanity proved that the highest form of advancement is the ability to exist without requiring anything from others. They achieved true independence not through isolation, but through evolution." Years passed and the galaxy adapted to its new reality. Trade routes developed new patterns. Scientific cooperation replaced military competition in many regions. The threat of war between major species declined dramatically, as more civilizations chose to focus on research and development rather than territorial expansion. Chancellor Vextar's successor, a younger Korthax named Velthar, represented a new generation of galactic leadership. In his inaugural address, he spoke words that would have been impossible before humanity's transformation. "The goal of the Galactic Council is no longer to maintain control over member species. Our purpose is to facilitate cooperation, support scientific advancement, and help all beings reach their full potential. We learned from humanity that the universe is large enough for everyone to grow and prosper. The dimensional barrier between human space and conventional reality remained, maintained not by weapons or force but by humanity's choice to exist beyond the reach of those who would limit them. On both sides of the barrier, new discoveries were made daily, new friendships were formed, and new possibilities stretched toward an infinite future." Dr. Amy Foster, now Director of Human Galactic Relations, stood in her dimensional office looking out at the swirling energies of folded space-time. Through quantum communication, she maintained contact with hundreds of research projects across dozens of worlds. "Status report on galactic cooperation initiatives," she requested from her AI assistant.
"Cooperation levels at record highs," the AI responded.
47 species now participate in joint research programs. Economic stability has been restored in all major sectors. Military conflicts between major powers have decreased by 89% over the past 5 years. Foster smiled. Humanity had achieved something that countless species had thought impossible. They had won a conflict by refusing to fight it. They had gained true freedom by evolving beyond the unray,